I realized that I had to make a change. I was going down the wrong path, doing the wrong things, hanging out with the wrong people.
I lost my career I worked my whole life at, that I went to college and wasted all that money on.
Yeah.
Gave myself that victim mindset.
Yeah.
Why me? Who cares? Like, what happens if I die? Who's going to show up to my funeral?
I got arrested for it. 2 felonies from doing that as well.
Call it divine timing. It was meant to be. And yes, do I want to make over $1 million? Will I make over $1 million next year? I'm absolutely positive I will. You're driving a Lamborghini, actually more valuable than going to college. And that's coming from someone who I graduated with a 4-year degree.
And that's what's helped me get to a different level.
I didn't lose, I learned. What's up, guys? My name is Matt Heyman. This is the first of many episodes to come for 8 Ventures. This is going to be my public speaking, personal development, and coaching podcast / fireside chats. Today, I have one of my best friends, closest friends, business partner, Matt Daniels, with me. I hope you guys enjoy the show, and it's only going to get better from here. So, Matt, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, man. I'm super excited to do this podcast with you, man. First of many,
So tell me a little bit about kind of your life, whatever you're comfortable sharing in your upbringing.
Yeah, so obviously, we're both from New Jersey, man. Born and raised in Jersey my entire life. Been in Tampa for about 13 months. I will call myself a serial entrepreneur. The 9 to 5 was never for me. Went to school for accounting and business marketing, dropped out year 1. I was only 4 months in, opened up my first vape shop. And this when vaping first blew up. Nobody really knew what vaping was. So I got into that industry and pretty much capitalized on that market. Did that for about a year. Honestly, did not do too well. It was my first business, made a lot of mistakes, could have done a lot better. And then it got regulated year 2, So got out of that completely. And then I went into fitness coaching. So I started doing online fitness coaching, had a high ticket offer. Just to take a step back, I used to weigh 310 pounds. I know we both used to be heavy at one point, lost all the weight, started getting healthy and then really focused on my health. And then I wanted to help other people. So I started doing fitness coaching. And then after fitness coaching, I wanted to get into the restaurant industry because I thought it was going to be nice. And everybody thinks the restaurant industry, from the outside looking in, it's flashy. You own a restaurant. It was terrible. I would never run a restaurant again. Profit margins are small. But I will say I learned a lot from that business that I use today. It made me very disciplined. The first restaurant I opened was something called Fruitables, acai bowls, and smoothies. And after that, I moved into something bigger, which was called BurgerFi. And BurgerFi is based out of Florida, right? Okay. I did my training in Jacksonville for 3 months. I flew out here, stayed out in Florida, and knew I loved Florida. I wanted to come back, but obviously I was opening up a restaurant in New Jersey. Couldn't move down here right away, right? After training was done, we opened up the restaurant and we had a lot of problems. One thing that happened was it took about 8 extra months to open up. And if you're in the restaurant industry, landlords don't care about anything. They care about what's on the contract. That meant 8 months of rent that had to be paid. Our rent was $15,000 a month, right? So we're already in the red. Profit margins are always small. I'm not going to talk bad about that franchise at all. BurgerFi has a great product. Didn't have the best training for their franchisees. And if you're a franchise owner, you guys know what I'm talking about when it comes to training for the franchisees and a lot of franchises. And within, I would say, 7 months, I had to file bankruptcy, filed a bankruptcy, had to get rid of the restaurant, had almost no money left. The only money that my name was about $1,000 that I had. And thankfully, my fiance at the time sold her car. We took that car and bought a mentorship. And the first mentorship I bought was with Eric Klein. Shout out to Eric Klein. And he taught me wholesaling. And I dove in that and ran with it completely. Whenever I do something, I am completely obsessed. It's either all in or nothing. That's what I do. Yeah. I ran with that. And I kept learning more and more and more about the industry. And I started paying more mentors. As you know now, I buy tons of mentorships, hundreds of thousands of dollars of mentorships. The biggest thing you could do is buy for your self-development, and knowledge. Knowledge is key, and that's what I learned. Why don't I pay someone that's already made the mistakes that could show me what to do?
Yeah. So that's some of these mentorships, you would agree, are actually more valuable than going to college. And that's coming from someone who I graduated with a 4-year degree, which we'll get into. That 4-year degree is useless, and I still have 60-something thousand of debt.
There you go.
And I've probably learned from just the mentorships you've given me, even beyond the sales experience I've had, a lot. But yeah, I just wanted to make sure people understand mentorships is the way to go, and they're not all going to be great. Right?
Exactly.
But you're going to have to take that risk, and you're going to have to use your own due diligence.
Yeah, you guys can't be scared to spend money to make money. You're going to spend some money, and sometimes it's going to work out, sometimes it's not going to work out. But when it does, you're going to get something from it. What I learned is even some of these mentorships that were actually horrible, if you learn one thing that could help you, that one thing is worth it. You know, you put all those things together, you're going to learn a lot, and you're going to outwork a lot of other people in the industry that you're at. But yeah, I did the wholesale of Eric, and we did a millionaire first year, and that was back in Jersey when I was in Jersey. And I knew I wanted to move to Tampa, and I knew I had to have an in-office team. Everybody that I know that is at a higher caliber has in-office teams, right? Got rid of my entire virtual team, moved out to Florida with just me and my fiance, and started completely over. Moved into an office building where I met you, obviously, which was a co-working space, and was starting to hire people. And then by chance, you and me met in the bathroom when we were about to go use it, obviously.
Taking a shit.
Yep. And you were about to literally go back to West Palm, you know, so if we didn't meet right there, this would have never happened, right?
Yep.
It was all by, I wouldn't say luck or chance, but it was meant to happen, clearly.
Yeah. I mean, and again, you know, I've tapped a little bit more into my faith because I realized, you know, I've never been the super religious, you know, I'm not a Bible thumper by any means, but I've just realized I'm surrounding myself and seemingly the right people kind of tap into that. There is a higher power, whatever you believe in. But I call it divine timing. You know, it was meant to be. And that's the one thing a lot of people don't, they try to understand things. They try to like pinpoint why did this happen or why is this happening? And sometimes things aren't meant to be understood, but I'm glad whether it's understood or not, it happened. So,
yep, I'm glad it did.
Yeah.
You know.
So beyond that, you know, through that whole thing, if you don't mind, tell me a little bit about some of the hardships or things maybe you've went through that are behind the business aspect, like Matt Daniels himself, not the serial entrepreneur, because I think these are the things that people look on so much and they allow them to define themselves. And even myself, I've been through a lot of things, and there was one point in my life where I almost took my life, right? Because I gave myself that victim mindset.
Yeah.
Why me? Who cares? Like, what happens if I die? Who's going to show up to my funeral? Because I had so much going on, you know, and that's super deep, but that's my whole point, because there are so many men out there, and especially we're not small men, right? Yeah. So people look at us, whether you're portraying an alpha or you just generally are an alpha. You guys, as a man of the household and everything, you have to hold yourself accountable and you hold things in. But I think you either succumb to your circumstances or you learn from them and you rise up. So do you have anything that you want to share that can relate to that behind the scenes?
Of course, you know I'm an open book, man.
Yep.
Completely. So a step aside from the business stuff, you know, me personally, like I was adopted, you know. I was adopted into a white family. My dad was Jewish. My mother was Christian. I have an adopted brother that's African-American as well. We're not blood. I was adopted at birth as well. We had a very good childhood. You know, I'm blessed to be raised by them. But my mother passed away in 2017 from leukemia cancer, right? And I did not make the best decisions after that. I don't think most of my family knew how to handle that the correct way. I remember specifically, I think it was freshman or sophomore year. She passed away. We went to the hospital, said our goodbyes. We went home, went to sleep, woke up, went to school. That was it. You know, that was normal. You know, looking back at it now, yeah, it's probably some trauma, obviously. I'm way past that, you know, and I've healed from that completely, as much as I can. But my father didn't know how to handle it, so he would just bury himself in work completely, and that we were just pretty much raising ourselves from there on out. Started hanging out with the wrong people, started smoking weed, and then weed led to other things. Started using pills, started selling pills. I got arrested for it, you know. I have 2 felonies from doing that as well. I was locked up for about 8 months as well. And then after all that happened, I realized that I had to make a change. You know, I was going down the wrong path, doing the wrong things, hanging out with the wrong people. And people, places, and things is very true. People don't believe it, man. But if you're around those negative things are going to happen in your life, right? Mm-hmm. So I had to cut out everyone that was not doing what I wanted in life and only surround myself with people that had more than me or pretty much had what I want in life, right? And once I did that, my life completely changed. And honestly, for a long time, I was pretty isolated, right? Because back home in Jersey, where I was, I guess I just didn't know where the right people were. So I rather isolate myself than be around the wrong people. And that's when I started diving into like YouTube and like finding like other mentors out there like virtually that I could learn from free, right?
Yeah.
And that's what I did, you know. And after that, I had to lose all the weight too, because what happened was I gained a lot of weight. I turned into a fat balloon, you know?
Yep.
And it's crazy because the old me, if I would have looked at the me now where I said that, I'd be like, wow, you are a lazy fat fuck. Crazy. What are you doing? You know, how we think, you know, but we were just going through the wrong things at that time. I also had a son, with his mother, and it was a tough time with her. You know, she was going through a lot of things too. And I remember, and again, I wasn't the best man. You know, I was heavy at the time. I wasn't taking care of myself, but she was hooked on heroin at the time, and I wasn't. You know, I wasn't doing any more of that stuff at all. And I remember I thought the right thing to do as a man was ask her to marry me and like this. Raise a family the correct way, right? As a unit. So that's what I did, you know?
Yeah, and not to cut you off, but do you think looking back now, would you agree with the sentiment that a lot of people nowadays think that either it's like putting a ring on it or sometimes even just having a kid when you realize there's toxicity in a relationship, and it doesn't even have to be a female. It could be a friend, it could be a business partner, right? That they do things that whether it's that, or if it's a business partner, like, maybe let me give them this and it will stop this. Like it's a temporary mask.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So
it doesn't fix it permanently.
Yeah.
You know, which I learned the hard way.
Well, it's just like alcoholism, right? You know, before my car accident, which I haven't spoken about, but for a long time, I didn't know what was going to happen to me. I started making really good money, and I had lost my girlfriend, went through an abortion, which was unexpected pregnancy, but didn't want the kid, was trying to make it work. But, you know, long story short, probably better that it happened that way because it taught me two different things and it kept me out of that relationship. But alcohol was a mask.
100%.
It masked it temporarily till I was numb, but like I can function, but I was numb.
Of course.
Right. And I would forget it, but then the anxiety and everything would come back.
Of course.
So
I completely agree. You know, it's a temporary fix, you know, and I learned that the hard way. And I asked her to marry me, and she took the ring, she threw it, and she said she was leaving me and Mason for somebody else. Fast forward, it was a drug dealer that she knew. And that was the best thing that ever happened to me because I was a fat fuck. And then I was just like, I'm a fat fuck. I can't be a fat fuck anymore to get girls, right? So I thank her to this day. Thanks to you, you know. She's not happy about it, but I'm happy that happened because I lost all the weight, dialed in. And sometimes people need a big, like a heartbreak or something in their life to like realign them to focus on something that could put them on a better path, right? And that's what it was for me, you know? So I lost all the weight. Then I got into coaching, like I said, and then pretty much stated what happened after that. And we got here, and like fast forward now, obviously we have a team out here in Tampa. You know, I just bought my dream car last week, which is the Lamborghini Huracan Evo. You know, and a lot of this would have never happened if I did not focus on the right things. You know, and just get very disciplined in life. So if I could say anything, you have to really focus in on what you want in life and work towards it relentlessly, relentlessly until you get there. And you're going to fail. I've had a lot of businesses fail. Like I told you guys, you heard about them, but the ones that worked got me here.
If you were to say that you had a set anywhere from 2 to 4 things that are your values, what would you say they are? And then if you were to think, and you may not be able to answer this on the spot, and I'm kind of putting on spot questions, but if you were to say your purpose, beyond if it's money, the businesses and stuff like that, what ultimately makes you happy to wake up in the morning? Beyond, like if you were to put everything aside that you're doing, what would you say those 2 things are?
Well, money is a tool. Money buys freedom. You and me know that. It's just a tool that buys freedom so you can do the things you like, 2 values, right? 2 values that I have. That I'm getting older. I value strong relationships and friendships, right? Because a lot of people out there have a lot of friends, right? And those are not, I wouldn't say they're all real friends, right? I value the people that are around me, like you being one of them. Because like I look at you as a brother, right? I could always rely on you. When I was younger, I thought having 20, 30, 40 friends was cool, right? Not it, bro.
There's levels.
Something hits the fan, I call Matt.
There's levels. I mean, you think about, you start to reflect on, nowadays, like when we were kids, I'm 34 going on 35, right? Same age. You used to duke it out in the yard, shake hands, and walk separate ways. The respect factor of it. Now, it's not worth it. Police, cameras, everything. Just on that part. But I've more realistically, even coming into Tampa, being from New York, you realize a lot of people are transactional. And kind of tie back into the point you said earlier, you definitely want to be the stupidest guy in the smartest room. But you also have to provide value, and it doesn't have to be money because there's a close friend of ours who hopefully will be on one of these episodes soon, Austin Medlin. And he said on a podcast once, poor people hang out with poor people, rich people hang out with rich people, right? But there's a reason for that because there's a way they provide value. It's not necessarily money.
Yeah.
I forget exactly how Austin said it, but he said, just you don't necessarily have to have as much money as me, but I value my time and my peace so much, in which I've come into probably in the past 12 months as strong as I've ever done. My time, I want to make sure it's put with the right people.
Yep.
Because ultimately, in my public speaking journey that's about to kick off and start, I've had it taken away from me. 3 years in state prison, was facing 8 to 10. I lost my career I worked my whole life at, that I went to college and wasted all that money on.
Yeah.
Time, yes, money helps things, and there's a certain point for me. I know people say there's no balance. I think there is somewhat of a balance depending on what you've went through in life. Because yes, do I want to make over $1 million? Will I make over $1 million next year? I'm absolutely positive I will, 100%. But for me, it's like, how do I make that million? Am I in the hamster wheel, 9 to 9 every night, losing weekends, losing things? Or do I maybe make $850 next year and I'm working a lot less, right? And I'm really making sure that the time I'm clocked in, it's super valuable, static during the morning, noise in the afternoon. We talked about this. Relationships are huge. And I think there's probably 4 buckets, if you would agree. I think you have acquaintances, you have friends, you have close friends, and then you have, I would call them family/brothers, right? And I think that bucket dwindles down like an upside down triangle, or the food pyramid flipped. If you would agree, I think that's where I kind of see things. And with people with money, that's where things start to get funny.
Yeah. 100%.
Right? Would you agree?
I 100% agree with you.
And what would you say your second value is?
Well, you kind of said it, man. Time. Time. I used to not realize how important time is. And as we scale and we get busier and busier. Yeah. And we talk about it every day. Like, wow, this day this flew by. This week this flew by. Time this goes so quickly, and you have to utilize it to its full potential. Especially when you're trying to make it somewhere in life and you're trying to get to the levels we're trying to get to. So I value my time. I value going home some days and just being alone, just having some peace as well. And then going out with you, or going out with a dinner with a friend, a brother, to me. Those are the most important things to me right now. And that's what's helped me get to a different level in the past year, for sure.
So I know you a lot deeper than most people.
Of course.
But there's going to be a lot of people out here that may just see your Instagram, may not see your Instagram, or see what you're doing, what you're doing. Where do you think that you'll take the foot off the gas a little bit? Because I know your foot's on the gas always.
Yeah.
I know my mind works that way, like a squirrel sometimes.
Yeah.
And, obviously there's always going to be a partnership here. My end goal since becoming home from prison 4 years ago, yes, I did go to prison, and we can talk about that, but is finding true purpose in life so that when I leave this world, I've left an impact on people. And yes, do I like nice things? Will I get nice things? Of course. But I've learned that when I had less and I had nothing when I came home, no credit, no money, starting from scratch, worried about losing relationships, but I didn't really care.
Yeah.
Because I saw who stuck with me when I was away, when I was in a box for 22 and a half hours a day, when I was on my 10 toes every single day worrying about, am I going to get stabbed because I'm a cop tag in prison, in a state prison. So for you, where do you see at 34 years old, whether it's a time or what is the pinnacle where you're like, hey, I'm comfortable here. I know it's hard to say that for you because you're never comfortable, but realistically kind of dig deep and say, okay, this stuff's running. I'm happy. I'm living a good life. But now, if I want to just take off Tuesday through Thursday this week and I just want to go fly somewhere, or, hey, do you want to take a trip to the East Coast? Do you want to go maybe just network, find something to do? Yeah. Right? What does that look like to you?
Well, if we're talking financially, Kevin O'Leary said it best, $5 million liquid, that I just have to stash away, right? And then get all the business automated where I can remove myself. Because I tell people a lot, there's a difference between an operator and a business owner. An operator, you're in the trenches, right? And we're in the fucking trenches right now, know. Business owner gets to step away and they can oversee everything and manage everything. So the goal is to get our one company, because I don't think we've said it, we run a wholesale innovation company currently together, to get that company to $1 million a month, and then get our coaching business, which is consulting other wholesalers how to do innovations, to about $500 to $1 million a month as well. And then I will probably take my foot off the gas once I could get somebody in there to manage it,
Yep.
that I could trust. But that's going to be the hardest part.
Yeah, this is just my opinion,
Yeah.
and you obviously chime in on it. And I heard this from Mark Cuban.
course.
It's always stuck with me, and I forget when he said it. It was years ago. He said, when you find a good employee or a manager or whatever it is, especially when you're talking about an operator at that point, manager, operator, you have to almost overpay them sometimes because you want them to treat it like it's theirs.
Yeah.
And the only way you're going to do that is if industry standard is 200 grand a year. Well, I'm going to give my guy maybe 225 and maybe I give him some incentive equity or something like that. Now, again, you can disagree. This is always the notion I've gone off of, even if it's someone running a laundromat.
Yeah.
You know, if you want someone to run a laundromat and drive your revenue, get people in there, have incentives, do all these things, get creative. If your average salary a year is 50 grand, you pay this guy maybe 65, 70. And then you say, if you're on with us for longer than 5 years, you're going to get an equity portion. If you're on with us 10 years, now you have incentivized someone not only to stay longer with, upside potential. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, that's why I hire mentors. We just hired Eric Brewer's team, one of the best in the nation doing innovations in the country. And that's why I ask them what to do, right?
Yep.
I pay people that are making way more than me and doing way better than me and do exactly what they say to a T, So
now, just out of curiosity, I know we've touched on a lot of things. Do you have any questions you want to ask me or?
Well, yeah, I know
like
we've
that?
talked a lot about me. I think it's about time for you to give them your story, where you came from and everything.
There's so much. I grew up never had a full home. Parents never owned a home. My dad died 4 months before I was born. In June 26, 1991, I was born October 23rd. Yeah. He was in the military. He was a Green Beret. He got a Purple Heart, got honorable discharge from the military, and then went working on jets for Grumman's. They were at a business dinner in Hawaii with this company, and he was known when he drank. He wouldn't drink often, but he would drink heavy. He would sleepwalk. So they all drank at dinner that night. They missed their plane flight back to New York. He ended up staying at his hotel. So they got a hotel. He fell asleep in his Speedo because there was a swimming pool in the building. He was on the 14th floor. Yeah. And at the time in Hawaii, the railings for the balcony regulation were 36 inches only. Why? I don't know. But they don't know if it was him drunk and being groggy, trying to go to the bathroom, or he was sleepwalking, but he sleepwalked off the 14th story building. That phone call, to my grandmother's house, which they were having a coming home party for him, was not the phone call they received. My mom never recovered from that because she was previously married to my brother Kyle, who's my half brother. She had left him for my father, and she said she had never felt love like that before. So she did not deal with depression well. She always used a crutch for everything, and my mom, unfortunately, was a prescription drug addict my whole life. So I had to teach myself, like you, just in a different way, how to grow myself up, how to do my own laundry. I grew up, and I know a lot of people say this shit, but I mean, you're talking about hamburger helper, making myself, ramen noodles, SpaghettiOs, just eat it right out of the can sometimes. I know people think it's disgusting, but when you're hungry and you got to cook for yourself. And then just kind of taught myself school too. I skated and was sponsored when I was in 4th and 5th grade, played sports, basketball and soccer, and then I transitioned over to football in 6th grade. But right before that, I was actually, since I was skating around town, I would actually, the township drug dealer who was dealing weed at the time, nothing heavy. I remember I used to have the Chad Muska circus shoes. So they had a zipper tongue, pocket in the tongue. And I would put little grams of weed and skate around town and just be a delivery boy at 6th grade. And then I got caught by my mom, and it was weird because she was sober maybe once a month, if that. And it was just like odd guilt where she never grounded me because she was crazy. I mean, she swung a 2x4 at my shins, made my shins bleed. But when she was just non-existent, she was there but not there. So there was times, and I'll never forget the worst time I could ever think is I was getting ready for school and I was the last one out of the house, and my mom was just completely fucked up. 7:30 in the morning, and I'm like, "Are you fucking kidding me?" And that's unfortunately how I would talk. Just grew up with a trucker mouth, and she just was asking me to cook her waffles, and I'm like, "No, I'm not cooking you anything." I'm like, "You're fucked up already. It's 7:30 in the morning. Are you kidding?" And I think I was 14 at the time. So then she stumbles into the kitchen on a flimsy paper plate because that's all we can afford, not even the Dixie ones. And she made 5 waffles and put a half a bottle of syrup. And as she's walking in, stumbling, spilling syrup all over the carpet and herself. And then she collapsed. So I had to then call in the school, pretending I was my stepfather, and call out. Then I had to drag her up a flight of 14 stairs and shower my own mother. And this is stuff that my stepdad and my brother didn't even know, because he was already at school. He was already at work just to keep a roof over our head, and blessing that I had a roof over my head. But that was it. And then the pinnacle really came. I was 16. It was the birthday month. She was sober. And my stepfather, Tom, said, Maureen, if you keep doing this, I'm taking both of the kids and we're leaving. And she looked at him and pointed to me and said, he's not yours. You're not taking him. And I spoke up and I said, Mom, I'm not going to continue to live like this. So I will leave. And then that next year, before she had passed away, literally then the October when I was 17, and this was 2008, she was maybe intoxicated 1 to 2 times a month versus almost 6-7 days. So big improvement, but 17 years on 15 plus medications and heavy medications, Soma, diabetic neuropathy pills, pain pills, Vicodin 80s, and she was prescribed this, 3-4 times a day. She had a doctor who overwrote prescriptions, and he was known as the Candyman. So she cleaned it up. So we were like, okay, she's getting better. We can handle this for now. And then I remember I never had an issue when my mom fell asleep on drugs, never in my internalness. And this is why I trust my gut. So it was October 23rd is my birthday. 5 days later is my brother's birthday, October 28th. She gets fucked up on his birthday. And I'm sitting on the computer. He comes in with his girlfriend. He's super embarrassed. So before I go to bed, she has no clue what's going on. She's just out of it. I said, Mom, I hope you know you're a real piece of shit for ruining Kyle's birthday 2 years in a row. And those were the last words I said to my mother. Because I went to bed that night, and it was the first time I ever said, what if she doesn't wake up? And then I couldn't fall asleep, and then I did. And then I always woke up by an alarm at 6:30 in the morning for high school. I woke up at 6:20, went downstairs, something wasn't right. And she was just leaned over and warm, but she was gone. Tried CPR, woke my dad up, woke my brother up, and that was it. And this is just some of what happened. But this is also why I wanted to become a state trooper. So for you guys that didn't know, my career path was becoming a state trooper in New York, New Jersey, or PA, because they're not like Florida state troopers who are making left turns, but they actually do a lot of GP, which is general policing. My goal was to level up into the DEA to go after doctors who overwrote prescriptions. So now we're fast forwarding a little bit. I was playing football. Football was everything for me. So I would wrestle with the wrestlers, but never competed because I was so headstrong on football, and got screwed over with a scholarship with Wagner College in Staten Island due to the guidance office. So I didn't really have much on the table. And then last second senior year, I had University of Minnesota come in and offer me a very small partial scholarship. So I took that for a year. I went out there. I went down to their sister school at Minnesota Crookston, played inside linebacker there, and earned more letter of intent money, which was supposed to go from $1,500 a semester to $7,500. But the coaches got fired, and so I had to get a release, which they were fighting me to get released. So at Division II or I, they have to sign off to release you from the team. I went to William Patterson, transferred back. All in the process, one of my best friends, Greg, who's in the Marines, he went over to Afghanistan, was fighting the war. He had some mishaps in the Marines. He had some anger problems. And when he came home, he was really messed up. He was showing me pictures of people that were planting IEDs. He shot him in the eye, and he was laughing about it. So something was messed up. And now I'm in William Patterson. I'm in college, so I would come home every now and then when he was around, and his mom only wanted certain people around him. And I remember me and my girlfriend, Dana, at the time, were driving over, go to his house. His girlfriend, Brittany, was there. We're downstairs. He's there. We're about to go play pool because that was his thing. He liked that. And then he says, I'll be right back. And he went upstairs and put a shotgun to his head. And that was it. The worst part is, and I'm kind of jumping a little bit, but his little brother went into the military, became a sergeant in the Marines. And 2 years ago, roughly, he was on mental leave. I was home in Jersey, and my buddy, who's a state trooper, we popped in just to see his mom, seen him on mental leave, didn't know he was home. And when he went back to base about 30 days later, he hung himself on base. So Angela lost 2 of her sons from suicide. And all while this happens goes to the pinnacle of what really changed me. Right after college, I graduated in 2014. I was going to become a state trooper. At that point, I was in all the state processes. I was furthest along in Pennsylvania. I got through everything. And it was 2 years, almost 2.5 years after college. 2016, January 29th, I got the call, 4 days away from the State Police Academy. First payment was submitted. Everything's packed, ready to go. And up in North Jersey, don't know if you know, you're a South Jersey guy, there was no Ubers at the time, no cabs. That day earlier, I was on 47 hours no sleep from doing security, substituting, and coaching football at my high school. I was doing that multiple times a week, pushing my body to its limits. And my brother Kyle and I, who lived together my whole life, we really didn't get along well. So I seen his car in town. I thought he was getting a haircut. I call him and I say, hey, you getting a haircut? He's like, no, I'm at the bar, the Fountain. Why don't you come get a bite to eat and grab a drink? He never did that. And I've always been the type to try to mend relationships. So I said, okay, I'm in gym clothes. I'll stay for a little bit. Let's see how this goes. The day was going well over a span from 12 to about 5 p.m. We had a few beers and a few shots, but it was over that span. It wasn't like we were downing anything. So I said, Kyle, I have to go home. I haven't eaten. I may have to work tonight. I'm exhausted. I need some sleep. He drove his car. He went the back way. And some reason I took the main roads. Car was in front of me. It's one road to my house at that time, 8 miles straight. And it was a Jeep Renegade. It was all over the road doing 30 to 31 miles an hour in a 40. And everyone usually does 50 plus on that road. So for me, I'm 3 car lanes back. And I'm like, this guy's got to be drunk. And when the road flattened out, because it's curvy and hilly, I went to go see if there was someone in front of him or if it was this car. And as soon as I peeked for 1 second, this guy came out of nowhere, hit me quarter panel to quarter panel. I ended up finding out he turned my car 180 in the same lane of travel, came up on my hood. He had no headlights on. He was doing 60 something in a 40, no seatbelt. But I had drinks in me. I knew at that point, even though I knew almost every police officer in town and they knew I was going to become a cop and a trooper, there was nothing I could do. But I got out of the car immediately. I was fine. And I just looked at the other guy and he was just looked unconscious. His head was just on his shoulder. And I tried to see if I could help him. I didn't touch him. And the cops kept telling me to be quiet because they were trying to help me because they have voice boxes on. And I just remember they sat me down. I just kept telling them. I said, is he all right? Is he all right? 4 hours later, I passed my sobriety test, but I know I had alcohol in my system. They brought me in. They gave me a breathalyzer, all that stuff. And then Will was a corporal in Vernon. Came in 4 hours later and said, Matt, unfortunately, he didn't make it. And that's when my whole life turned upside down. I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know what to do. I knew my career was gone the minute the accident happened, but I had to accept responsibility at some point. So I ended up getting booked in county jail, in Sussex County Jail, for about 8 hours. My brother from Long Island, my oldest brother, Eric, came, bailed me out because the officers did help me out. I ended up getting $50,000 bail with 10% option. Usually when there's a homicide, vehicular, someone dies, tragic accident, it's usually $500,000 to $1 million, and sometimes they don't give you a 10% option. I was blessed to have that. I get bailed out, and I just went home. My girlfriend was there, friends were there, and it was just silent. And I walked in and just broke down. I was in tears. So I didn't know what to do. And my brother just kind of took me around. Some people wanted to speak to me, and he says, listen, I'm going back to Synthes. I can give you my distribution for medical sales. You're going to have to make a decision in 2 weeks or less. I will stay up here. We will meet with every lawyer possible. We will get you the best lawyers and what we can afford if we have to take out loans, all that. So that's what we did. We went on a frenzy for about a week, but I had to make a decision when I was going to move to New York, do medical sales. I never sold a thing in my life. So I did. I jumped in. I went from making $29,000 a year to getting a pay bump to $70,000 a year, but I got drilled every day with questions on the anatomy, this and that, because I did implantable medical device. So I was in the OR, but I fought my court case for 3 years to kind of get this story to the end. And I lost who I was. I ended up making my third year about $294,000 cleared. I had Rolexes. I had the Hublots. I had a decent car. I had a beautiful 1-bedroom apartment that overlooked the Hudson on the New York side in Yonkers. Everything going for me, but everything not going for me. I became a victim of myself. I didn't know if I was going to prison. I didn't know if I could beat it. I didn't know what life was like. I was scared. I was going through, my girlfriend had cheated on me. I took her back. Then the baby came, the pregnancy came. That, and then the abortion, which I tried to stop. I did once. That's a whole nother, basket to open up. I just kept going, but I had everyone. What sucks is everyone always had an opinion about telling me what I should do instead of asking me how I'm feeling. Anytime I would talk to someone, it was like, yo, bro, are you okay? Instead of a helping hand, they said, you should be doing this. You shouldn't be doing this. And it was like I was being, belittled And it was just like, I had no one just to even speak to. So I just clammed up. And after 3 years, I got up to 296 pounds. I looked like a bowling ball. And I have that picture and I'll never forget. I just knew for those 5 to 7 days, I thought about taking my life. Literally. I mean, close. Drink. I thought about finding pills, just something painless. Just go. Lay down in bed. Don't wake up. And it was the last day. I had an employee that I had hired to help run my medical sales because I was growing, but I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know if he was going to take it over. Everything had to dissolve. And I had to run a case, and I said, you need to run this for me. I can't do it. And he's like, bro, I need you there. So I slammed a whole glass of vodka first thing in the morning to make myself be able to get there. He was going to drive me. And within minutes, I threw up chunks of my inside, not bile, my inside all over the backsplash. And that's when I looked at myself and I said, this isn't you. I stopped. I got scared. I scared myself to the point where I knew everything was going wrong. So I had to face what I did. And that's the biggest thing is I accept responsibility for what I made. A mistake, a lapse of judgment, whatever you want to call it. But I served my time. And in that time, I've learned more about myself, having nothing, having your freedom taken away. And one of my biggest messages is freedom isn't free. And value your fucking time. Because, Matt, you have a beautiful car, beautiful girlfriend, beautiful home, beautiful dogs. Shout out Apollo and Tasha. But this all could be taken away from you tomorrow. So, I tell you all the time, and more recently I've said, Matt, you got to be proud of yourself. You got to self-reflect, man.
Yeah. Well, the reason I work this hard is I lost everything. You know? And that's why I keep working to never lose it again.
Yeah. Yeah. And listen, it's a great mindset. But that's where I sit here and I'm like, man, I can think back and it was nothing like the movies, nothing like the shows. And I'm like, I never want to be there again. Never. And then it flipped and I read over 550 books when I was away in prison. And that's when it came to the point where, and I forget what book, I can tell you almost my top 5, but I can't tell you this book to this day. And it talked about purpose and it drives me insane. But I have every book I've ever read at my stepfather's house in New Jersey. And it said, find your purpose because everyone goes through life. You can wake up, look in a mirror, you can look fit, you can be rich, ripped, and rare. But you still don't know what your intent and purpose is. And that hit me because I didn't know. I was coming out of prison at, 30 years old. I'm like, bro, I'm 30 years old. If you realize most people live the average age till 76,
yep.
I'm 34 now. I'm midlife,
yep.
Right? Even if I stay as healthy as possible. So I'm like, I've realized working with you, and I'm thankful, even ups and downs, that yes, do I want to make good money? Of course. But do I want to also, when I want, and it's funny, I start to see a lot of people, you have to work to get to a certain phase. Yeah. Don't get me wrong. It's not like you can just snap your fingers and then shit happens.
Of course, yeah.
But I want to be at that point, you know what? I want to go work out at 12 today. Just because, I'm very routine driven, but let's say hypothetically something so stupid.
Never work out that late.
I know.
We all
I know. I'm a morning guy, but
4 o'clock in the morning.
Just being able to be like, okay, I can still get my shit done and have just a flexible schedule.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's like whether you're with a partnership or you're running a company by yourself, you want to know your number one if you're with a partner, that your partner, if he's gonna get something done, needs to get something done, right? Get that static shit done in the morning when there's no noise. And then the other stuff, it could be afterwards, right? And then it's like, put levels of importance on stuff. Okay, does this need to be done immediately right now? And if not, and it's not going to affect direct business or what's going on, then okay, that can be B or C. And just working with you, and there's been so many things that kind of just make me look and sit back from a mindset because then I see what you're doing. I never want recognition and I never want anyone to slap me on the back. But everyone, as a grown man, grown woman, you always want to know that you're doing well. But who are those people that are going to tell you that? The ones closest to you.
Very true.
Because the people that are your friends, they'll root for you in front of your face, but then behind your back, you have no clue what they're doing.
Yeah, yeah. And a lot of these people don't want to see you win,
Yeah.
And that's why we said before, it's not a good thing to have a big friend group. You want to select people you could trust,
Yeah. So, I know that was a long story, and there's a lot that I probably didn't even touch on. I've lived a hellish of a life, but my biggest thing is I really think freedom isn't free. Your circumstances do not define you, or you could flip it the optimistic way, and delusional optimism is they do define you. I didn't lose, I learned.
Yeah.
Right? Just because I'm a felon, you said it, 2 felonies. You're sitting here, you're driving a Lamborghini.
Correct.
You can realistically, probably if you wanted to, go out and buy whatever you want right now, for the most part. Maybe not the yacht you want.
Yeah,
but not yet.
Eventually.
But you have that ability because you worked for that. And you probably had people at some point in your life, or multiple times, that say you wouldn't amount to anything, right? I was going to become a cop. You don't do that to make money. I like watches, right? And more recently, I tapped in, and my goal was within the next 2 to 3 months is to like find a way to get there, because when I had my Rolex, for some reason, it triggered me to do better at the sales I was doing. It was night and day. I went from 70,000 to 115,000 in a 6-month span when I got my first Rolex. But I tapped in, and I've been doing more research on it. And I said this to you the other day. I said, a watch it's not necessarily the value of the watch brand or anything like that. For me, it represents you still have time from someone who almost lost everything. Yeah. And did essentially lose everything but my life. But I want to be well-grounded in my future to help people, to be happy and to be free mentally. Because I think so many of us men were trapped inside of our own heads. And
for sure.
Especially having you and knowing your story, man. You know, again, I only ask people to share with me what they're comfortable. I'm more of a straight open book. Like if I'm feeling some type of way, man, listen, I'm dealing with some shit right now. I just need a conversation. And
that's why we get along so well, because we say it, what we feel immediately. Yeah. You know, nothing's hidden.
I mean, like, dude, at the end of the day, if you had a boy, like, he doesn't have to talk about it. Hey, can we just go for a ride and grab lunch? Yeah. Right? You just know if someone asks you that, something's going on, that may help someone. But, listen, I appreciate you sharing everything. I appreciate everything you've done for me.
Of course.
And everything that we continue to build. And, you know, like I said, this is going to be a journey where I'm still perfecting. I'm still learning. I can sit here and say that I'm not the richest man in the room, money-wise. But in the past few months, even more, when I've locked in, made the routine, set my boundaries, I feel rich, ultimately, internally, because now I see what my purpose is, what God is putting in front of me in terms of people. Like, I feel it. Like, you introduced me to Austin, your next door neighbor. Yeah. Me and him, because of the things he's been through, have clicked on certain things. Me and you, someone like Giovanni, who, who will be on one of my next ones, he's just so pure, right? He genuinely wants the best for everyone, and he doesn't even ask, right? He'll give you his last $10 if you need it, and that's all he has, right? And it's just people like that. That's the purest intention of happiness. It's like that you can give back because, at the end of the day, what do we have, right? Ourselves.
Yep.
Money can be lost. Money can be made.
You always lose money. You always gonna make it back.
You're a perfect example, right? My man went through a bankruptcy. He's sitting out there driving his dream car, and I know that's not his dream car. I'll say that now, fellas, because mark my words.
But it's all material stuff, right? Like, I'm happy I have the car. I love the car.
Yes.
But I've had it for a week and I'm over it already. It's just it was a goal, now we're trying to get to our next goal. Yep. The big thing, like I keep saying, is money buys freedom. You know, and the big thing is I want to make as much money as I can, so my kids don't have to worry about money. They don't have to worry about like what you went through. You have to eat SpaghettiOs or any of that. Like, they're good, right? And that's what drives me.
Yeah, no, 100%. And the biggest thing I would ever say, just from a friend to a friend, and people, tell your friends exactly, but make sure you say it in the right way, because not everyone can take these things, is take a day every day of the week, and not on Sunday, because I know you like to relax on Sunday, where you don't have the significant other around, you don't have your dogs around, anything, you're just present in the moment, and literally clap for yourself. In a room where it's just you, no one's there. Literally clap for yourself and say, fuck, Matt, yeah, I did this, because you deserve that.
I appreciate that, man. I do.
And then just keep going.
We're going to keep going.
I know that.
We're just getting started.
Yeah. One last thing I want to say. I want your thoughts on it. Someone told me anxiety and gratitude cannot live at the same time. Gratitude is now, in the moment, and anxiety is stemming from the future. So give me your take before we leave on what that means to you.
Well, I think from personal and a business standpoint, a lot of entrepreneurs get anxiety of thinking what's coming in the future, right? And I think we talked about being grateful about what's happening right now, right? What we have, how far we've come, and you can't have the two together because either the anxiety stemming from what you're thinking is going to happen in the future, and you need to really focus on the now. It's what I got from that.
Yeah, it's like the FOMO.
Yeah.
All right, you get nervous. I've heard you say it before.
Yep.
Right, you operate like you're going into another bankruptcy.
Yep. Always.
Right. Which is, again, there's always a balancing act, and balance. I think people, so guys, like balance is not in the middle. Don't think of it as a seesaw where it has to be level. Balancing act for your business may look like this, but that's good instead of this. Every single person in every single situation, I believe, and this is my personal and professional opinion, that balancing level is going to be different for everyone.
Yeah.
So if you're business partners, you got to understand, like, hey, he operates this way, I operate this way. We just need to understand each other for where we stand, because we could wear the same shoes, but that doesn't mean the same person's in the same shoes. We may put our pants on the same way, but that doesn't mean we're necessarily exactly the same human. But yeah, man, I really do. I think just having gratitude, because I was reading books, and I'll never forget this. And I came home, I had nothing. I was just so happy to eat a chocolate chip pancake. A chocolate chip pancake. I had bacon. I had it bacon cooked soft because I don't like crispy bacon. It tastes like an ashtray, and I hate cigarettes. And then I asked for 2 eggs over medium, 2 scrambled eggs. I asked for 1 plain pancake. And they gave me some bullshit frozen butter. I asked them to go heat it up. But
at least it wasn't cream cheese.
Listen, no, fuck cream cheese.
I like cream cheese. Matt has a personal vendetta.
You can't cut the same bagel. Like, I need 2 different knives, my man. I tell them I'm allergic, but my fault. But yeah. So again, just thank you for coming, being on the show. Please reflect on yourself once a week. I know you set your boundaries at night. Do that, man.
Yeah.
Because you have to cheer for yourself. Because think about it. If you lost everything, who do you have? Yourself, right? You still have to be happy for yourself.
Of course.
And sometimes I look in the mirror and I don't do it enough. But that's why I do my morning prayer every morning. That's the first thing I do before I even look at my phone. But and then I read the word of the day. And now I look at myself sometimes, and I'll just do it randomly, but I try to do it once a week. And I say, you're not where you want to be yet, but you're going there.
Yeah. And you're farther where you were.
Yeah. And I'm happy, right? And if I'm unhappy with something, voice it in the correct way. That's all. Because there's always a way to work something out so it works. You just have to find that middle road, right? Think about a sale. Every seller wants what they want. Every buyer wants what they want. An acquisition specialist is the middleman trying to put the deal together.
Yep.
Right? So thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Appreciate you also, brother.
Guys, for more content, please click the link below and subscribe. Also, if you want to follow me on Instagram, the tag is @ML Heyman, Heyman. That's my Instagram. You'll see some more organic content daily. And on YouTube, you will see a lot more of these interviews. These are going to be organic fireside chats. There's no script here. This is leave it all the fuck out on the table. Be who you are. Be truthful. And if you don't like this, you can go fuck yourself.
Yep.